Some from a lender. Cash is much better than a pre-approval or pre-qualification letter from a lender, but at least you need to see something like that. When you look at a bank letter, you want to look for exceptions, and you want to ask, possibly even call the broker from the letter or the banker from the letter, and ask if they have an underwriter who actually has made a decision and evaluated this, or this has just been based on a quick credit pull. Because a lot of loan brokers will spend a 5-minute conversation on the phone with a potential buyer and run their credit. They take a quick glance at the credit score. Score looks good. They look over items real quickly, and they might ask verbally a couple things about their income, but they never verify any of the things that are required to actually do the loan. So, the letters is very contingent, and it's not strong at all. You could also have a letter from a broker or finance company, and if it's from a broker, it's much weaker than, say, from a bank. If your house needs work or fix-up, beware of FHA loans. Specifically, FHA loans typically have always been very difficult to close with the house that's a fixer-upper. The exception is that if there isn't an FHA loan called a 203K, you have to have better credit and better finances, but a 203K loan is a very strong loan for fixer-up houses. Even conventional loans, if the house is bad enough, you're not going to be able to get one on a house, except for a specific rehab loan. So just beware of that and evaluate your buyer properly, because if you have multiple buyers and you pick the higher one because they were higher, but you didn't evaluate that they probably can't close on it, then you're going to put yourself in a bad situation. If the buyer doesn't have an answer, always call the lender and ask what time frame for closing there will be, because that's important. You don't want to just know that they can close, but you also want to know how long will it take them to close. Generally, a broker is going to tell you more lies than a banker will. Bankers are more professional, so discount whatever a broker says. If they say they can do it in 2 weeks, it's probably a month. If they say it a month, it's probably 45 days. Just a figure on that. So I just want to reiterate, do not accept an offer without some verification in writing of ability to close. Don't do it. Ask for a fax, ask for them to bring a copy, and explain to them that not only do you need this to compare it to other offers if you receive them, but you can't submit this to the bank without giving the bank some kind of certainty that you can actually get this closed for them and get them their money. If the bank doesn't have any certainty, they're not going to waste their time over 60-day time span it takes to evaluate this thing. They're not going to waste their overburdened staff evaluating your offer. So that's very important. It's important in getting your offer accepted. And cash offers are very strong offers. So even if they're a little lower, definitely consider accepting the cash offer if it's anywhere close to a higher offer. Multiple offers. Sometimes you may be in the situation where you have multiple people make offers at the same time. There can be some interesting ethical scenarios with this, and so I want to talk about the best way to handle this, because they can really tick some people off, and ticked off people make calls and just screw things up. It's just better not to tick people off. It's better to deal with people fairly and set expectations for all parties involved when you're accepting multiple offers. When you don't have an accepted offer and you have multiple offers, in other words, you get several offers in a short time frame, notify all parties. You can notify them by phone, fax, and email. Tell them to bring their best offer and that there will be no round-robin bidding. That's generally the best way to do it without breaking making anybody feel like you've really been unfair, because you want to maintain relationships with other buyers if in case the one that you do end up choosing ends up disappearing. Things to take into consideration when you're selecting an offer after you've got all the highest and best, and you do want to set a deadline, bring your highest and best by X time, Tuesday at 5 p.m., give them a couple days. You want to consider all the following things, other than picking just the highest price when considering what might be the best offer to give your lender. Number one, other than price, is what kind of financing do they have? Is it cash? Is it broker? Is it a bank? Broker is never as good as a bank. Bank is never as good as cash. That's just the way it is. Also, you can assess kind of, if you've had some negotiations, how motivated is one buyer over another. It could be that you'd pick one buyer simply because you know that the other buyers will stay around, so you pick the one buyer that won't if you don't choose them and sign their offer. And then if they can close, great, but if not, you have the other people still waiting. If that one buyer doesn't work out, to come and buy your house. Also, you want to look at the contingencies in the offers. I mean, financing is a big deal. So if there's no financing, if it's cash and there's no financing contingency, then it makes it stronger. But it's still stronger even more if there's no inspection contingency. So if it's cash, no contingencies, it's as soon as the bank accepts, it's an absolute done deal. Not completely, because there's a human element, and sometimes humans don't do what they say, but contractually, it's a done deal. Quiz. Consider this. Let's say you just listed your house at $415,000. It's a bit overpriced, but in an extremely desirable neighborhood. And 2 weeks later, you've received offers for A, $315,000. Cash, no contingencies, and it's an investor deal hunter. This is the person who's making that offer. Offer B is for $350,000. It includes financing, contingency. It includes only a financing contingency. There's no inspection contingency. And again, it's a homeowner, but it's a homeowner deal hunter. It's a homeowner who's looking for a deal. And then there's a $375,000 offer, FHA financing, contingency, FHA financing contingency, and a full inspection contingency. This is just a standard retail buyer. By the way, this is an unlikely scenario. Normally, overpricing a house is a kiss of death from a showings perspective, let alone offers. But we're assuming that this is such a nice area that people were still willing to look at an overpriced house just because they love it. So, which offer should you accept and submit to the lender? And my answer is, this is a good question and one that I run into all the time. Most people would simply take the highest offer, obviously. We've talked about this already, that's not necessarily the best thing to do, but they would take offer C, $375,000. Most retail realtors would do that. And they would sign it contingent on short sale acceptance and submit it to the short sale lender along with the required hardship packet. And there could be times when that is the most appropriate thing to do. However, there's a danger with this. Offer C is a retail buyer, and even if you set the expectations properly, that this could be 30, 45, 60, or 90 days to get an acceptance, the buyer is going to be getting very antsy after 21 days, and at that point may start looking at other houses. In 45 to 60 days, the buyer may have withdrawn his or her offer and find something else, and you're left having to start over with negotiations and having to get the lender to come down way further than you had previously negotiated. So, if I can think of any argument or justification for the bank to go with offer A at all, I would sign a copy of that offer and send it to the lender, but not inform buyer A that I did so. Why? Because this is just for negotiation purposes, not because you plan on not using this buyer A if possible. Besides, buyer A's offer is so low that it will always be around. And even if it isn't, someone else will make the same offer in a heartbeat. I would recommend also signing offer C and giving that signed copy to buyer C and letting buyer C know that you want to work with them. Now follow up and do all the things I teach you as far as negotiation goes for offer A. But during the negotiation process, give weekly buyer updates to buyer C, letting them know that you are negotiating with your lender and attempting to get this at a good price for them. If you are successful at getting a negotiated price at the price of offer A and get the acceptance letter at the same time, at that time, if buyer C is still around, you just have them start moving towards closing. And if buyer C is not going around, is not still around, check with buyer B, because they're the next best offer. If buyer B is gone and left and still you're not willing to do it, then you have buyer A, and you can just call them up and say, hey, the lender's actually agreed to accept your offer. I know we haven't talked to you in 3 months, but you can close now. And typically, if buyer C, if buyer And if buyer C is actually able to proceed towards closing, let the lender know that buyer A won't be able to close, but that you found this crazy person that way over offered and is pretty much stupid, and here he is, and he'll be closing instead. The lender will be happy to get the extra amount, and if there's some extra fees to your realtor, they probably won't beat you up on that. In fact, they may allow you to up your commission if they had just cut it. So did you get that? You would accept the lower amount. You would submit the lower offer to the bank, but actually verbally and in writing accept the higher offer just to keep the buyer around. Then, if the higher offer is still around when you've negotiated through, you can just up your offer and change it, and the bank will be happy to get the extra amount. If not, you still have the bank thinking a low amount and the higher offer isn't there. You just go with the lower offer and call up the original person who's always going to be there because they're stealing the house. So that was kind of a trick question, a bit involved there. But also, when you have multiple offers, when you do have an accepted